Hey everybody, hope you guys are healthy and safe. So about 6 months ago, I made a video on the Honor Magic V2. And if you remember that video, I was like super excited and visibly giddy on camera because that phone at the time was mind-blowing. It was by far the lightest and thinnest foldable phone around. It measured only 9.9 millimeters in thickness at a time when all the other foldable phones were like 14 millimeter, 15 millimeter, and it weighed only 234 grams, which was actually lighter than the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So Honor made a large screen foldable phone that was lighter than the best iPhone and almost half as thick as Samsung's best foldable phone. But that was 6 months ago and things have changed. So unfortunately, Honor only launched the Magic V2 in China at the time when I made the video, and then waited almost 6 months, just up until a couple of weeks ago, to launch the global version of the V2 in Europe and in other parts of Asia. And then right now at MWC, they're unveiling the global version of the Honor Magic V2 RSR, which is the Porsche design branded Magic V2. So while this is still a bleeding edge piece of hardware, it is still the thinnest and lightest foldable phone around. The gap has closed because in the last 6 months, Samsung has released a new foldable phone, the Z Fold 5, that is a little bit thinner than the Z Fold 4. And then Apple also cut some weight off its Pro Max iPhone. But anyway, the Magic V2 RSR is still worth a look because this is a very premium device running global ROM with full Google support, and it has a very nice packaging. So let's do an unboxing because you guys know my rule. I will only film an unboxing now if the packaging is nice, if the brand puts effort into the packaging. There's an outer sleeve that you pull out. The box opens up like a flip-top box, and then you're greeted with the Magic V2 and a Stylus. So the Stylus is included with the package. It is still very thin and light in the hand. So the coolest thing about the Magic V2 is that this feels like a slab phone when folded. This Stylus is quite nice too. Underneath you have 3 boxes. Interestingly, this package includes 2 chargers and 2 USB-C cables. So one of these is the UK charger and the other is the European charger. The middle box houses a very nice vegan leather case, and I like that this case actually has a flap that covers the hinge. There's also a case for the Stylus that's also covered in vegan leather. It feels very premium. And then the SIM ejector tool has the Porsche design logo on it. So very premium packaging for a very premium phone. I want to give one more shout out to this vegan leather case because this is by far the best case I've seen for a foldable phone yet. Usually foldable phones will have a case that slaps on one side and it looks very uneven because it sticks out a lot. It makes the phone look heavier on one side and it just feels very weird and doesn't feel nice. It's particularly the corners, like you have this bumper that sticks out. But Honor did a really good job because I guess first of all, the Magic V2 is so thin that even when you have the case on, this phone, look at it, it doesn't feel like a bulky phone even with the case on right now. And this little flap that covers the hinge really adds so much to it because if you look at it, the corner of this little flap is rounded so that when you hold the phone like this when it's folded, it doesn't dig into your palm. This corner is rounded. It feels very smooth. And also the side that covers the hinge is also covered in vegan leather. So when you're feeling this part, you're feeling a material that feels like leather, not really cheap plastic rubber. Even though I know vegan leather is still plastic, but you know, this texture feels nice. When you unfold the phone, this little flap just kind of glides along and covers the hinge to keep it protected. For the rest of the video, I'm going to take off the case so you can see the look of this phone, especially this back design, which is inspired by the Porsche 911. So you see there's this subtle ridge right here. You can actually feel it. It sticks out a little bit, gives a little bit of texture when you're holding it. This camera module also differs a little bit from the Honor Magic V2s. It has more of an angular point right here, but otherwise, these 3 cameras are exactly the same as in the Magic V2. I believe the rest of the packaging, other than the back plate and some of the software skin like the app icon colors, everything else is identical to the Magic V2, which means I'm very familiar with this phone because like I said, I tested it 6 months ago and I also tested an unfinished global version 2-3 months ago until this is the finalized global version. So you have an 8-inch LTPO panel on the inside, resolution of 2344 by 2156, and it gets up to a maximum brightness of 1600 nits. Animations are very fluid, 120 Hz. The outer screen is even better. This is a 6.43-inch LTPO panel, 2K resolution, maximum nits of 2500. So this is among the brightest panel in a foldable phone, and there's also some Honor technology anti-scratch material applied on it. I'm not going to test it. I'm not going to try to scratch it. I'm generally very careful with my phone, but I trust Honor's hardware craftsmanship. This thing feels so nice. So like I said in the Honor Magic V2 video, This phone, when it's folded, really feels like a slab phone. You know, with a foldable phone, now this is the Fold 5. You have to remember, this is already the improved version of the Samsung Foldable. The Fold 4 and Fold 3 before it was even worse. So you see that the Fold 5 is still a little bit thicker, although the gap has closed a little bit. And then the Fold 5 also has a little pointy edge right here in the corner that always digs into my palm when I'm holding it. When I'm holding the Fold 5, I can always feel like I'm holding a phone that has been folded. I can feel the two chunky parts. I can feel the little corner hinge right here. It just, you know, even if my eyes are closed, I can tell this is a foldable phone. But the Honor Magic V2, if you hand me this phone and my eyes are closed, I may think this is a normal slab phone. Like the interface is very similar to like a Google Pixel 8 Pro. And yeah, when you put the Magic V2 side by side with the S24 Ultra, thickness looked just about the same, even though on paper the Magic V2 is a little bit thicker. And in fact, I've been using the Vivo X100 Pro with a leather case, and basically the thickness feels exactly the same to me. This is a foldable phone with an 8-inch screen, but the thickness feels just like a normal slab phone. Like I said, the gap has closed a little bit because this phone is technically 6 months old, but even now in February 2024, it is still very impressive hardware that is leading the pack. But 6 months ago, it was completely, I was like, oh my God, I could not go back to using another foldable phone after holding the Magic V2. One of the things I always do when I install a new phone is I download Instagram, but then I turn off all the notifications for Instagram. But you cannot do it on the home screen because when I long press on the Instagram app, there's no option for me to jump into app information, which is how you control notifications. So if I have to jump into settings, go to apps, dig out Instagram just to then turn off notification. This is a process that takes like, I don't know, like 20 seconds. And that's if I know where to look for. But on every other phone, if I long press on Instagram, I have the option to go into app info right here. So directly I can go into notification and turn it off. So this method takes me 2 seconds. With Honor's method takes 10 to 15 seconds. And I know some people defend Honor saying, well, that's just the software, but Honor's the only software skin still doing this. Every other phone from Google to Samsung to Xiaomi to Oppo to Vivo lets me long press on an app to go into app information. I don't know why Honor does not do that. That's about it in terms of nitpicks though. Otherwise, Magic OS 7.2, the global version, runs very well. I'm very happy to report that this phone is optimized for Google apps. So for example, if I'm playing a video on YouTube and I multitask, I can actually split YouTube horizontally, which is something you cannot do on a lot of Chinese foldable phones like the Xiaomi Mix Fold 3 or Huawei Mate X3. And then if I want to split it vertically, I actually can do that. So this is giving me options, which a lot of Chinese phones do not let me. And I'm also happy to report that Gboard will also show up in split keyboard form. This is also something that is not always the case with Chinese foldable phones. With my Xiaomi Mix Fold 3, the Gboard still will not split when it's opened up. Animations are buttery smooth. The multitasking system here is very useful. Like you have this pull over bar here, long press, this little bar comes up, then you can just open any app. You can drag it into the view to launch split screen, or if you just tap on the app, it will open it in a floating window. So very responsive, very intuitive, and all the animations are fluid. And of course, if you have other Honor products like an Honor tablet or an Honor laptop, you can connect the Magic V2 to those devices very easily. It just takes a couple of taps. Magic Ring will connect the devices, and then you can move files left and right by drag and drop, and you can even see your phone screen on a laptop or on a tablet. Honor's ecosystem is quite well established at this point. And of course, there's also the Stylus, which connects to the Magic V2 via Bluetooth. Once the Stylus is connected, you have this little floating window right here that if you tap on it, you can immediately open like a notes app, and you can see the Stylus works on the inside screen and the outside screen. This is freaking awesome. I believe this is the only foldable phone in the world right now to support Stylus on both the inside and outside screen. And the fact that Honor still managed to make the phone this thin, even though it has 2 extra layers, because for a screen to support Stylus, you need to have an extra layer of sensors. So there's 2 extra layers in these screens, and the phone is still so much thinner. So this is why sometimes when I say Samsung's cruising on hardware a little bit, this is what I mean, because if Honor can do this, Samsung can do it. Samsung can make the Fold 5 a little bit thinner if it wants to. Now, if I have to nitpick about the Stylus, is that latency is pretty good for a foldable phone, but it is still lacking compared to like an iPad's Apple Pencil, because when I try to draw on this, I do notice it is not quite as immediately responsive as an Apple Pencil. But I'm being nitpicky here, considering the Stylus comes with the tablet for free. You don't have to pay an extra $100 for this. I don't really have much to complain about. You also have the ability to use the Stylus as a remote pointer, so that means you can put this phone somewhere you're presenting a presentation, for example, and then you can use this as a laser pointer. And if you're wondering why wasn't the screen a little bit small to do a presentation, well, like I said earlier, you can output this display to an Honor laptop or tablet. You get a bigger display. And here's a Stylus case again. It is very nice and it's just so cool. Now, because this phone is 6 months old, that means the silicon is not the newest one. The chip in here is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is 1 generation old now, but still very powerful today in 2024, and still more than good enough to handle just about any task. You really need to be the most nitpicky power user to spot a difference between the 8 Gen 2 and 8 Gen 3. I don't think is a big deal. The battery in here is 5,000 mAh. It can be fast charged at 66 watt with the 2 included chargers, and also supports wireless charging. And battery life is really good, but that's expected with Honor devices. So this is a phone that can definitely last all day, even with heavy use. And as for the cameras, you have a triple lens system, 50 megapixel main camera, f1.9 aperture, 50 megapixel ultra wide f2 aperture, and then a 20 megapixel zoom lens at 2.5x zoom. That's about 66 millimeter with a f2.4 aperture. Now, this zoom lens was very good for a foldable phone 6 months ago, but in February 2024, it falls behind the zoom lens in the Oppo Find N3 / OnePlus Open and the Xiaomi Mix Fold 3, because those phones have periscope zoom lenses that can just grab cleaner zoom shots. This zoom lens is still better than what's in the Z Fold 5 from my testing, because it has a slightly larger sensor and faster aperture than Samsung's Fold 5 zoom lens. So when you're taking zoom shots, you get a little bit more natural bokeh from this zoom lens than the Fold 5. But if I have to rank them, this zoom lens definitely falls behind Oppo and Xiaomi's best foldable phone. During the day though, you can still get really clean, nice 5x zoom, even 10x zoom. But at night, this zoom lens shutter speed slows down so much, because I think they're trying to overcompensate by slowing down the shutter speed to take in more light. But if you're trying to take a picture of something that won't stay still, you'll just get a little bit blurry images, which is the case with the zoom lens at night. During the day, it's fine. The main camera is very good for a foldable phone, even during day or nighttime. At nighttime, I do find that the colors can be a little bit off. I think the processing is a little bit aggressive, but for the most part, for a foldable phone, the main camera is really good. The ultra wide is also very good here, but I have to be honest, as I progress more and more as a photographer, I don't really care about the ultra wide camera that much anymore, because in every phone, the ultra wide camera is almost always going to be the weakest lens. And I really have no use for such a wide field of view unless I'm like going take a picture of like the Fuji mountain or something. Otherwise, in day-to-day life, I want to use the telephoto zoom lens, because you get better subject separation from the background, you get better natural bokeh, and it's a tighter crop, which tells a better story when you're framing a picture. And you also have 2 selfie cameras, both of them are 16 megapixel from the front camera. They do a good job, I guess. Video performance is pretty solid, as you can see. I think stabilization can be better, but for the most part, I'm not really going to complain too much from an ultra thin foldable phone. But overall though, the camera system here is good. Overall, the Honor Magic V2 RSR is a damn good foldable phone, but I just wish it came out a little bit earlier, because knowing that this phone is 6 months old just doesn't sit right with me, because the chip is 1 year older, and then the fact that this phone, when it came out, had this big a lead on everybody, and then Honor chose to wait for everyone to catch up a little bit, and then it finally releases the phone now. Like, this thing would have been completely mind-blowing if it came out in September of last year instead of February 2024. But otherwise though, still really impressive hardware. And if you're someone who want a large screen that can go with you anywhere and you don't feel the extra bulk, this is the phone to look for, because the Fold 5, the Oppo Find N3, they are still a little bit heavy. So if you're someone who runs around town a lot, if those phones are in your pocket, you're still gonna feel it. But this phone, you're not going to feel it because in your pocket, it feels just like an iPhone 14 Pro Max. It feels just like a Vivo X100 Pro with a case. And also, I don't know the official price of the Magic V2 RSR, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be very pricey in Europe because it has that Porsche branding. So I think for me, I would rather just use the standard Magic V2 because it is the exact same phone without the Porsche branding. And I can do without the Porsche branding if it means saving like 400, 500 euro. Because I know in Hong Kong right now, you can pick up the Magic V2, the global version with Google Apps, for just about 11,000 Hong Kong dollars. That's like 1,300 US dollars. For 1,300 US dollars, that's a damn good price for the thinnest and lightest foldable phone around. So I think for me and for a lot of you guys, the Magic V2 is probably the better option over the V2 RSR. But if you're someone who's into luxury, into sports cars, into Porsche, this is definitely worth a look because you are someone who will have money to spend anyway. So yeah, that's about it for this review of the Honor Magic V2 RSR. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. It will help me a lot. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.